This content creator retired from streaming, became a CEO, and just launched his own game. I know, another content creator trying to make their own video game. We've all seen this song and dance before. But this isn't just any streamer. This is Reynad'. If you don't know who this guy is, I've officially gotten to the point where I'm too old to be making YouTube videos. If you don't know who this guy is, Reynad' is one of the best Hearthstone players, one of the best deck builders, and one of the most entertaining individuals you could have regularly found on Twitch in the last decade. Initially starting out by streaming Magic the Gathering in 2012, he eventually pivoted to Hearthstone for some reason. Thanks to his background in poker and MTG, it didn't take long for Reynad' to make a name for himself within the community.
Like, a high-level player, which 21 Legend should be a high-level player, should know that this is Counterspell. Every other secret, I would play Courier instead first. Fuck.
Fast forward 2 years later, and his efforts would culminate into the founding of Tempo Storm, his very own esports team. With Reynad's success on Twitch and the launch of Tempo Storm, he withdrew himself from the streaming space in 2018. Since then, his life post-Hearthstone has followed the same narrative beats as the ancestors in Darkest Dungeon. Came upon great wealth, retreated from the world, discovered the esoteric, and is now a mad prophet.
Do you think your hair gives you strength like Samson? The Samson story had more to do with cum. One thing that's pretty universal in old religions and mysticisms is like semen retention. Basically, you lose spiritual power when you blow your load. And the Samson story is kind of that's what it's symbolic of, right? Because he sleeps with the harlot.
Facetious mischaracterizations aside, he retired from streaming in 2018 because in the same year, he would establish AVY Entertainment, the, at the time, parent company to Tempo Storm, which would eventually restructure itself into the foundation for Reynad's other entertainment ambitions, the first of which being the development of his own video game. Staying true to his roots, it only made sense that Reynad's initial vision would manifest as a card game. And so, Reynad'S the Gathering was born.
Whoa.
Okay, no, it wasn't called that, but the earliest iterations of the game had a certain aesthetic to it that was difficult to overlook. It had all of the usual conventions you'd expect to see. It looked like a card game, smelled like a card game, and probably tasted like a card game. But as time went on and Reynad's vision became more concrete, the shape of the project would change and hone in on the aspects of card games he loves above all else. Deck building.
Oh, dude, deck building is my favorite part of card games. It's my absolute favorite part, but card games don't really reward it. Mimicry is actually what gets rewarded, not creativity.
So from that shift in focus, we too shift from Reynad'S to the Bazaar, an intergalactic marketplace full of danger and wonders.
I don't know, everyone is so eager for a label. Is it an auto battler? Yes. Is it PvE? Yes. Is it PvP? Yes. Is it a drafting game? Yes. Is it a deck builder? Yes. The best one, I would argue. It's like the traditional video game RPG experience distilled down into a format that's as accessible as solitaire.
Formerly announced to the public as an official project 6 years ago, the reveal was met with the usual skepticism. And unfortunately, this skepticism was justified because the journey to the Bazaar's closed beta release has been nothing short of turbulent, even by normal game development standards. Detailing every alleged setback, either circumstantial or self-inflicted, would require a whole other video. I mean, we're looking at lawsuits, blockchain integration, NFTs, the war in Ukraine, delays, angry investors, and, probably the most damning thing, funding! The studio just ran out of money at some point.
In 2022, we were like running out of the money we raised from the Series A. I needed to raise a Series B. Man, I gotta do this because if I don't, we run out of cash and then I'm gonna have to like ship the game in an unfinished state and all that.
There was no shortage of ways for the universe to fuck with Reynad', and of course this was going to affect the Bazaar. But in spite of all that, Reynad was able to persevere and release his game on his terms. Not because he was forced to, not because he had to, but because he was ready to. Criticize him all you want about the delays, about how long it took. Completely fair and valid criticisms, by the way, but you cannot deny that the closed beta exists now in front of us to play with our own two hands. Assuming you paid for one of the many entry fees, of course. However, launching the Bazaar was just the first hurdle. Congrats to the studio, but, elephant in the room, is the game any good? As I mentioned previously, there is no shortage of people following the broadcaster to game developer pipeline. It's only natural to want to create something in a medium you interact with daily. It's in the name after all. Content creator. But for every game successfully released, there are countless projects that fail, flop, or fall through and never see the light of day. So you have to ask yourself, how could a game be any good when its development time had the constant threat of litigation hanging over it? How could a game find any widespread appeal if you're making it exclusive to the company's proprietary distribution platform? How could a game deliver on any of its promises when members of its team were affected by the war in Ukraine? How can the Bazaar be anything other than a mismanaged mess of a product when your CEO's grasp on reality is deteriorating?
I'm going to become a Bazaar streamer. Again, I can't talk about any details about that game, but it's the best game I've played in a long time.
I'm sold, it's installed, let's fucking go. Cue the intro! What kind of greeting do you imagine a person could give to make up for 6 years of lost time? What kind of icebreaker could the Bazaar offer to cut through 6 years of apprehension, excitement, and expectation? Well, it greets us with what is familiar. It greets us in the same way like all games, good and bad, have done in the past. It starts us off with a tutorial. Duh. As far as tutorials go, the Bazaar does a great job thoroughly introducing all of the important concepts to the player. Taking it from the top, every time you start a new run, you do so from your character's personal home base. All capitalist ventures naturally incur a level of risk, and exploring the Bazaar is no different. This introductory encounter equips your hero with an item and a passive skill to defend themselves as they venture onward. At the risk of sounding reductive, you have effectively learned the vast majority of the game in this one instance of decision-making alone. Everything you do is centered around making your hero as strong as possible through events and the myriad offers of power they advertise. This offer can be transactional, hostile, and hell, even profitable if you're smart. However it manifests, the hope is that the outcome is beneficial. Once you've departed from your home base, time will advance forward by 1 hour. There are 6 hours in a day, and 5 of those hours represent an opportunity to empower your hero. Since this is a marketplace, you'll be using most of your time visiting and sometimes assisting the merchants found in the Bazaar. The rest of your time, however, will be spent defending yourself from unsavory characters. Halfway through your first day in the Bazaar, you will be introduced to combat encounters. In this kind of event, you have to decide which out of 3 opponents you want to face off against. Since it's the first day, the pool of enemies threatening you is hardly a challenge. But as you get further into a run, you can be sure that you'll be battling more dangerous foes with each passing day. When you face an enemy, you are pitting the build you've cobbled together, from your time spent in the Bazaar, against a hostile NPC. The goal is to reduce the opposition's HP to 0. Barring that, you want to damage them as much as possible because you can earn gold during combat whenever you lower the AI's health past certain thresholds. Combat in the Bazaar is done automatically. Most items have a cooldown where they will activate once enough time has passed. Other items require specific conditions to be met before triggering. In the event combat has gone on for too long, a damaging sandstorm that intensifies over time will emerge and afflict both parties as a way to prevent stalemates and accelerate foregone conclusions. If you're victorious, you'll be awarded gold, XP, and an item or skill the enemy had in their possession. This is in addition to the gold earned during combat. In the event you lose, you just don't get those rewards. So yeah, nothing really happens on defeat. In PvE, PvP on the other hand is a different story. I mentioned earlier that most of your time spent in the Bazaar is dedicated to making yourself stronger in some way, shape, or form. The final hour of every day is where you test that strength against another player. Functionally speaking, combat works exactly the same. What's at stake, though, is different. On the left side of your screen are 2 bars specific to PvP. If you win, 1 tick of the blue bar, your victories, will fill out. If you lose, the bottom bar, your prestige, will deplete. Your run ends when you've collected 10 victories or when you've lost all of your prestige. Regardless of the outcome, time advances and we move on from day 1 into day 2. With replenished coffers and newfound strength, you set out once again into the Bazaar. And thus, you have completed the basic loop that encapsulates the whole game. Pretty simple, right? By design, this is not a complicated game to learn, because all of that complexity has been reallocated into mastering it instead. Lurking below the surface, masked by the game's apparent simplicity, is a level of depth that would pique the interest of anyone who's a fan of strategy games. The primary form of skill expression in the Bazaar is the hero building / deck building aspect. Can you form a cohesive build from the items and skills offered to you? Can you do it when you're being presented with less than ideal options? Reynad, give me a repeater and my soul is yours, please! But, God damn it, dude, it's impossible. Can you find synergy where at first glance none appears to exist? And most importantly, can you do it better than your opponents? I will be the first to admit that I'm not good at these kinds of games. I was awful at Slay the Spire, and the highest rank I ever got in Teamfight Tactics was Plat. I really struggled with the Bazaar at first. But with each subsequent run, my understanding of Vanessa's items and their implications would expand until finally, I could consistently create cohesive builds regardless of what the Bazaar offered me. Oh my god, I think we've got it locked, boys. I think this is gonna be a 10 wins. But cohesion is just the first layer. The second layer is refinement, and it wouldn't be until my first game of Pygmalion that I would delve into this area of mastery. For context, Pygmalion's archetype is that of economy, the accumulation and expenditure of vast sums of wealth tempered with shrewd decision-making overcomes any and all obstacles the Bazaar can set before you.
Success isn't about money. It's about lots of money.
6 a.m. I wake up and start my morning routine. 7 a.m. I preen over my extravagantly rare Uwashawali bird. 8 a.m. I refresh my mind through a meditative outdoor process I call golfing. 9 a.m. I'm hitting the weights and hitting them hard. 10 a.m. I break into the lemonade stand market. 10:15 I go dumpster diving with Pearl. 10:20 I find a loop and corner the small items market. What I have done is I have now changed and manipulated the economy. I generate infinite wealth, I generate infinite health. Stacked it up over a day, I'm gonna kick your butt. Stacked it up over a week, you're toast. Stacked it up over a month, my entire life is different than it would have been otherwise. We began this run following the adage that health is wealth. Unsatisfied, I went further and turned health into power. Boom, baby! Let's go! The Bazaar already had my interest before it was even out. But after this run with Pig, it now had my undivided attention. Health is wealth! That's what this build is! Health is wealth, baby! I'm out here trying to last! Is this game worth the 6-year wait? Does the Bazaar as it exists now justify the 6-year development period? I say yes, absolutely. The game is tremendous, and despite the tumultuous development cycle, those 6 years were well spent. The sound design is excellent, and at all phases of a run never feels overpowering or underwhelming. The accompanying soundtrack and ambience generate sensations of adventure, wonder, and whimsy one would feel when exploring an alien world and its riches. The character performances from the heroes to the Bazaar locals are charming and memorable. Though graphically simple, the Bazaar is a pretty game to look at. The art style maintains a consistent visual language and direction across vastly different character archetypes through beautifully crafted images. The particle effects from combat are at just the right level of intensity to sell you on how powerful you are, but retains enough clarity so you can understand what is happening, which appeases my lizard brain. On the topic of lizard brains, the Bazaar accomplishes something that I personally had hoped it would do when I first heard about it. It scratches the same itch early Hearthstone did for me in the past, and then some. Optimizing the orientation of my inventory and watching it manifest into a victory makes me feel like a goddamn genius. A Nobel Prize in economics is nothing compared to the surge of dopamine I feel when I buy and sell gumballs for profit. The quiet, prolonged moments of rumination when faced with a difficult decision juxtaposed by a boisterous victory once I've found the correct line is undeniably satisfying. If there was one thing I could change, I kind of want the shuffling of items to have a meteor thwip and thwack to it like you do when you're dealing out cards. It's a very minor personal gripe. And also, I recognize that it's probably never going to happen because in-universe, this is a world represented by simple card-like images as opposed to actual cards being played on a table. But I digress. Alright, so after many games of ranked and normal, I can confidently say that I am more than happy with the Bazaar. It is everything Reynad'S said the game would be. It is a roguelite RPG deck builder with the simplicity of solitaire, but the strategic depth of a TCG. The gameplay loop is cozy and addicting. It's so easy to instantly start a new run the moment one ends. The ability to stop my run at any time and return to it is quite nice. Very useful in the closed beta, considering the server instability at the moment. Microtransactions. Right. So, I don't say this often, but I really like how the Bazaar handles its premium currency. Play enough normal mode, you'll inevitably earn a ticket. Redeem that ticket to enter ranked, and you can earn chests containing cosmetics and what feels like just the right amount of gems, which is the premium currency. Then the gems can be redeemed for more ranked tickets or to unlock the other heroes. Also, I didn't realize this, but you get a free ranked ticket every day, which is quite nice. I do admit that I paid for the Founder Pack, which gives me immediate access to Pig and Dooley. So there wasn't really anything I needed to spend my gems on. With that said, I gave my extra code to my good friend Wakamechi, and on the first day of the closed beta, he unlocked Pig, and then in like less than a week, he got Dooley. Do note that he is really good at these kinds of games, so your mileage may vary. Also keep in mind that everything about microtransactions could change in the future, but as it exists now, it's great. To sum up my feelings, the Bazaar is exceptionally pleasant. It's not trying to blow you away, it chooses instead to do a lot of simple things incredibly well. The game looks, feels, and sounds great. The only issues stem from server overload, which you could argue is a sign of success in and of itself. I mean, there's nothing else really to say other than Reynad did it. Through 6 years of delays and setbacks, he did it. He released the game he envisioned on his terms, and I think it's a success. I already saw videos being made about the Bazaar leading up to the beta release, so I can only imagine it gets better from there. And barring some kind of catastrophic failure, knock on wood, I don't see any reason why this game wouldn't pop off. I know that this is just the closed beta, and there are still plenty more hurdles to go, but I think for the moment, Reynad and his team can allow themselves to breathe out a sigh of relief, cause you guys have definitely earned it. Hey, thanks again for tuning in, really appreciate it. Do me a favor and like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. It really helps out the channel. Alternatively, you can pledge on my Patreon or buy me a coffee. While you're at it, follow me on my other socials, links in the description down below. For more content, feel free to check out some of the other videos on my channel. Additionally, you can catch me live Mondays through Fridays at twitch.tv/discountxanthem. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!